So today's video is not a summon video, thankfully, because we've had plenty of those lately. Don't get me wrong, I am aware. Today's video, we are going to discuss the likely candidates for the Hall of Heroes for the rest of the year. This is Fire, Water, Wind, Light, and Dark. So a few things that I want to mention. There might be a couple errors. This should be 95% accurate. This could also apply to 2024, kind of. There are going to be a few things that change, which I'll discuss right here, actually. Credit to Nizra and Fandom for doing some of the groundwork. Keep in mind, Comptoist doesn't like to follow up Hall of Heroes with recent Hall of Heroes monster families or units that have Nat 3 counterparts. This kind of comes into play when we're talking about the Dark Hypno-Meow Hall of Heroes we just had recently, so we wouldn't get a Light Hall of Heroes for that. Even though he could be a Light Hall of Heroes, that's more like a 2024 thing, probably not really so much a 2023 thing, because they're not going to fall unit with the Light counterpart if we just had the Dark counterpart. So this also is not including Assassin's Creed units. The Summoners War versions aren't out yet even, so we shouldn't see those soon anyway. Probably 2024 next Hall of, or late 2023 at the very least. So next Hall of Heroes should be Water in May 2023. So I felt like the best way to do this is visually in a tier list style. I know you guys like that kind of format. So we have the highly, actually this has changed, which you're going to see in a second, but we have the highly likely units, less likely, probably not, and then we have Nat 3 and Fusion Ice stuck together, and then we have this last one. Oh, you guys can't see. We have this last one that's already happened. So let's start with the Fire one. Again, this is not the next Hall of Heroes. In May 2023, we're going to get the Water ones next. So we have quite a lot of duds. I think we should see a Black Tea Bunny fairly soon. I think we should see a Choco Knight fairly soon. I don't think they're just going to give us all old. I mean, they could give us all older units that have been in the game for quite a while for the rest of 2023, but I think they're actually going to give us like a few newer units that people are struggling to get skill ups for, or at least I'm hoping. I mean, they can do whatever they want, but these are the most likely. These are a little bit less likely. This one, because we just, actually this should be a little bit one tier down. A little bit one tier down, because we just had a Hypno-Meow Hall of Heroes. Although, I mean, we could see a Hall of Heroes late in the year of the Fire Hypno-Meow. It's just less likely that we see units that we just had one of the same family. These are just fairly good units. These are very good units. We could see very good units. Every so often they give us something really nice, but for the most part they like to give us kind of duds so that we still spend money on trying to get the better 4 stars or the skills for the better 4 stars. Then we have some, this has a Nat 3 counterpart. These are fusion units. They don't like to give us fusion units. They have given us fusion units in the past, but I think the fusions might have come out after the Hall of Heroes. But just be aware that they did actually give us fusion units. We have a lot of Hall of Heroes. Hall of Heroes already happened for actually all of the elements. I think roughly 40% of the 40% of the Nat 4s have been Hall of Heroes at some point in the game, and then if you consider the fusion units, that's about half of them. Next up we have Wind, and again the units at the top of the list are the most likely that we see because they're kind of less exciting, although some of these could still be pretty useful. Like this, for example, is pretty decent in RTA in certain comps, not in every comp, but if your opponent's trying to take turn 1 and control you and take 900,000 turns, this could be somewhat effective, just like the Fire Robo is pretty effective, just like Zhao, the Wind on Amusha, on Mewji is affected. This is good in Guild Siege. Some of these units are actually pretty useful. They're just less exciting to be a Hall of Heroes that people are like, wow, oh my goodness, Comptoist is so generous. Although I will say that as much as we talked about Lucian being completely off the table for the first several years of the game, the first many years of the game, is something that will never ever see a Hall of Heroes, I wouldn't put it completely off the table to see Lucian Hall of Heroes now. Since we are so far into the game, most people have one Lucian, many Lucians, a plethora of Lucians. I have 20 Lucians myself, so I can imagine that many people have all the Lucians that they need and also fusible skill ups. So if Comptoist wanted to give us a Lucian Hall of Heroes, it would be really good for new players as an extra unit, or for skill ups, or if they don't have the unit, even though there's 4-star, like choose your own 4-star events. This could be something that makes them look good, that really, if you really think about it, wouldn't impact that many people. Only some new players. Would be really generous for new players. Comptoist would look good, and for most people, they already have all the Lucians that they need. And Lucian's not as... He's still relevant. He's still useful, don't get me wrong, but he's not as uncontested as he used to be at some points in time. He was just like, just use Lucian, just use Lucian. You could still just use Lucian, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit you can use Lucian a little bit less since artifacts came to play. A lot of people are protecting themselves against Lucian, so I don't think it's that insane to see a Lucian Hall of Heroes. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm wrong plenty, so that wouldn't be anything new. And then we have, Chasun would be, some of these could be Hall of Heroes, and no one would bat an eye. Then we have things with 3-star counterparts. We have some fusion units, and then we have all of these that already happened. Next up is the water ones, and I think we might actually see a new unit for this next water Hall of Heroes. I'm kind of feeling this water robo for whatever reason. I think there's enough good robos, and the water one is the least useful of all of the robos. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting a water robo buff. I just don't think they're gonna touch the robos anytime soon, because all of them are good except for the water one is kind of like not that useful. So if we saw a water robo Hall of Heroes, or if we saw one of the other new units, this just had a counterpart, so I wouldn't expect this actually should be lower. Maybe some of these should be lower too, because those are actually pretty useful. This is only down here because we've seen a counterpart for this recently. This is only down here because we've seen a counterpart recently. I don't know what Comtuos has in store for the Water Magic Knight, if we'll ever see a Hall of Heroes for that. Then we have Nat 3 counterparts, and we have some fusion units, and all of the units down here that have already happened. But this is going to be the next Hall of Heroes at the time that I'm recording this, which is in May 2023. So now we're on to something that I think is kind of exciting, because Light and Dark Hall of Heroes are the ones that most people care about more than anything else, because most people have just summoned plenty of the regular element 4 stars, so it's mostly just for skill ups, right? So the LD ones are always something to take note of. This one in particular, because we do have some dark ones that are highly likely, it's like these units are not very good, but for the light ones, all of the choices are pretty useful in my opinion. I know some people will disagree with me, I know some people don't like some of these units at all, but I think that these units, I think that whatever because it's still a few months away, at the time that I'm recording this is still a few months away, but I think that whatever the Light Hall of Heroes is next might actually be an exciting one. I don't think they're going to give us anything OP, but might be like is somewhat useful. So this is going to be something to consider. And then we have this one was just a Hall of Heroes as well. I'm hoping, because some of these might be a little bit lower or higher based on the units that were just Hall of Heroes, but just take that into account that we have some Nat 3 counterpart. Actually, all of these are Nat 3 counterparts because there are no LD4 fusions. And then we have all of these Nat 4s that have already happened. All of these LD 4s. Some of the better LD units have been Hall of Heroes. Like at the current time that I'm recording this, how many times am I going to say that? This is one of the better LD 4s. This is one of the better LD 4s. For me personally, I like this one as well. I'm going to change the runes on him, but some of these are pretty decent LD. Most of them aren't, but some of them are pretty decent LD4s that we've actually already gotten as Hall of Heroes previously. Now we're on to the dark ones, and there's actually less of these than the other ones because some of the dark units that have 4-star counterparts are Nat 5s, like for example the Onimusha or the Cannon Girl or the Anubis, or there's a couple more, I think, but anyway, we have the highly likely ones. This one was kind of off the table for a bit, but I think that it is very possible that we see I was going to say Sophia, a Luna Hall of Heroes. Also, some of these, we could see a Dark Joker, we could see a Beta. I know some people disagree with me, I'm like, oh, we're not going to see a Beta. I think we might see a Beta. It's not outside of the realm of possibility to see some of these units for Hall of Heroes. We're definitely not seeing something like these. Not going to happen. This thing, I think, is too OP. This, I think, is too strong. These things have 3-star counterparts. So I think some of these are just really off the table because they're just so good to have many, many dupes of. If we saw Martina, that would be massively impactful for Siege. So I do not think that we will have any chance of seeing something like a Martina Hall of Heroes and some of these other dark 4-stars, but I think that these are definitely possible. So, and then these are also the ones that already happened. I think some of these are very useful. This is a great unit. This is a great unit. Some people like to play with this one over here, the Dark Jack-o'-lantern, but anyway, that's my thoughts for the Hall of Heroes for the rest of 2023. Some of this can also be applied to 2024. I just wanted to give you guys a recap, and I thought it would be nice in tier list form, because everything is nice in tier list form. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and it wasn't a summon video. Thank God. Anyway, I'll see you as always in the next summon video. I'm joking. Probably. I hope I'm joking.